Hey everyone, I just thought I would check in with what I am reading right now. It is December 14th, and I have only completed one book so far this month. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but I am currently in the middle of several good books. So the first book is my audiobook, which is Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. This is a buddy read with Doris, Patrice, and Karen from Run Right Reads. We are sort of reading this in 25 chapter chunks. It is quite a hefty book. I think it's like 150 chapters, but it is a YA historical fiction set in the period of the, I think in the 50s, 1950s. It's during the reign of Franco. After World War II, Franco is in power. It's an authoritarian regime. I know nothing about the history of this time period, so it's very interesting learning more about that period of time. I am also reading this nonfiction, The Great Influenza, The Epic Story of the Deadliest Plague in History by John M. Barry. This is a Blame It on Doris read because she praised it so highly during Nonfiction November that I just had to read it. I had it on my TBR anyway. You can see I've tabbed it. I'm about, where am I in this book? See if I can figure out where I am. I'm on chapter 19, about 220 pages in. It's quite a chunker. The writing is fantastic in this book. If you like nonfiction about pandemics or medical things or historical sort of detail about a time period, because this takes place during when the United States gets into World War I, so like 1917, 1918, in that time period. Absolutely fascinating, loving it. This is a nonfiction book that I can read nonfiction in the evening before I go to bed because I can put it down. This is the kind of nonfiction that makes me want to stay up all night reading, and you can't say that about very much nonfiction. I am deep into two other fiction novels, basically. This historical fiction is The Toss of a Lemon by Padma Viswanathan. And this is a novel, historical fiction, that takes place in India from 1900 on, basically, or a little bit before that. And it's a family saga. We're following a woman as she gets married at age 13 or 14. And her marriage, this is not a spoiler, I think it's in the back cover. She's widowed at 18. And it's all about her life as a widow in India during this time period. Fascinating, learning so much about history of India in this time period. The family drama stuff is very interesting. This isn't a book where terrible things happen to people all the time. I mean, yes, this woman's husband dies, and that's terrible, but it's, it going in. This isn't like one of those family sagas where it's just nonstop misery all the time. It's not like that at all. I'm very much enjoying it. I'm buddy reading this with Jo Smith, who is, everybody knows, she's a commentator on everyone's channels, and she's so awesome. And so I'm very excited for us to have our first buddy read with this book. And then I am reading another historical fiction. That's 3 historical fictions at once. I barely ever read historical fiction, and I'm reading 3 at once. I am reading Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. Needs no introduction. This is the story of Thomas Cromwell, and so all during the time period when Henry VIII is trying to set aside his wife Catherine so he can be with Anne Boleyn, and it's written from Cromwell's point of view. So we're learning all about Cromwell, his childhood, his early young adulthood, up to the time period we're in now, which is the court intrigue around the king trying to get rid of his first wife so he can be with Anne Boleyn. Really enjoying this one as well. About 300 pages into it. It is a more difficult read than the other ones in that the prose style is very complex. It's a very complex story written in a very complex way. A lot of political intrigue, which is difficult to follow at times, especially if you're not a scholar of, Tudor history, which I am not. But it's so engagingly written that you want to keep reading. So definitely enjoying this. And this is another buddy read with a big group of people, which I'm not going to list because I will inevitably forget somebody. But there's a big group of us reading this and enjoying it very much. This is definitely a good book to buddy read because it is so complex. So that's what I'm currently reading.
You want to put up the nutcracker?
Where'd voice go? He's got. Oh.
We're putting up nutcrackers. This one's for Grandpa.
You sure you get the good angle? Katie's good side.
I don't have a good side. This one's sparkly. You probably don't like that one.
These two watching.
We'll be watching.
So it's 6:45 on a Monday morning. It's 17 degrees Fahrenheit out. I'm headed to work, and I've completed one book so far this month. It's December 16th. That's my car talk check-in. This candy dish only comes out at Christmas, so that stays filled throughout the holiday season. And this is my little, I don't know, decorative items on the kitchen table. Still gotta do all that. time to wrap this reading vlog up, and I have finally finished my second book of the month. I finished my audiobook, Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys, today while I was on the road for work, and it is excellent YA historical fiction. I ended up enjoying it. It started off quite slow for me, but it ended up like by, a third of the way in, it started to pick up and get more exciting. There were a couple twists in there that I didn't see coming. I enjoyed learning more about the history of Franco-era Spain, and was quite amazed at how far into present day all of that extended, to like basically up until current day. Some of that, the repercussions from that are still, are still reverberating in Spain and around the world. I continue to work on The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. This was the book I picked up for Gone with the Book at the end of November and never finished. I have about 100 pages left to read in that one. I am continuing to work on The Toss of Lemon by Padma Viswanathan. I'm buddy reading this with Joe Smith, and I haven't really made any progress in this one this week. I'm about 200 pages in and need to read another 200 pages by the end of the weekend. It's currently Wednesday, so I have some time. I'm still reading The Great Influenza by John M. Barry. This is nonfiction about the flu epidemic in 1918, and I have about 100 pages left in this one. And then I am still reading Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, and I don't know how much, I have that much left to read of this historical fiction that I'm in a large group buddy read of. And so, yeah, hopefully I can start to make some progress on this. This is the crazy Christmas season, so who knows? But I have enjoyed putting together this vlog, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'll talk to you later.